Winning is not about luck. It's about mindset and it's about execution. My guest today is the founder of Let's Go Win. He's a performance coach and he helps leaders build confidence, improve culture, and win in business and life. My kind of person. All without sacrificing what matters most. In this episode, we talk about leadership habits, mental conditioning, and the real strategies that drive a lasting, sustainable success, not hype or just hustle. So if you're ready to get to the next level in your life and in your business with the intention to lead from the inside out, this episode is one that you do not want to miss. JM Ryerson and I go deep, and this is an episode that's going to help you understand how to win in every aspect of your life. My name is Nada Nasserdeen, and welcome to the Rise of You podcast.
This.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise of You podcast. This is your host, Nada Nasserdeen. And yet again, I have an amazing guest with me today. Please give it up for JM Ryerson, wherever you are in the world. Thank you, JM, for joining us today.
Nada, my pleasure. Glad to be here and very humbled. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very excited for this conversation today because if you're listening, as you know, our superpower is soft skills, leadership, really stepping into your best self. And today we're going to talk with JM, who's going to break down a self method that he's created and also share a little bit more about where he comes from, his business, what he's doing today to make an impact. So before we jump in, JM, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from in your own words.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a kid originally from Montana that ended up moving to California after I graduated college, met my wife, had a couple kids. I built 3 businesses in the financial service world, ended up selling the last one, and that's when I started Let's Go Win. And I didn't mean to start it, honestly. I wrote a book for our 2 kids, and it was all about inspiring them to live their best lives. And so that's what I do today is I work with companies, inspiring them to live their best lives. And as you mentioned, I have a self community, which is all about helping people live their best lives. And so, yeah, that's kind of me in a snapshot.
I love that. So take us back a little bit. Let's pretend that we're all the way back in high school. Who was JM in high school?
I played every sport you can imagine.
Okay.
Sports was extremely important in my life. And I ended up playing basketball in college. But in high school, yeah, I was just playing football, baseball, basketball, swimming, soccer, you name it, I was playing it.
Okay. And so how did you get into this industry? I know you said you went into the financial sector first, and then you built 3 businesses. So I understand you have the Let's Go Win book. Did you always have a winning mindset? I mean, it sounds like by nature you were an athlete, so usually we perform at a different level. Curious, like where I would call an obsession came from of like becoming your best, building businesses, now going into this industry.
That's an incredibly good question. I would attribute it to so after I blew out my knee for the 3rd time, I ended up studying abroad. Why that's important is I ended up spending a ton of time on trains, and that led me to reading voraciously. So name a self-development book, I probably dove into it. And I think that's what really got me on the path of performance and mindset coaching. Yes, I loved competing as a kid, but then I started educating myself on personal development and growth and all the amazing authors that are out there.
So you built a couple businesses, specifically in the financial sector. I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the challenges in building the business, but then even in more particular, working with a team. I always say that when it comes to leadership, it's one thing to be the leader of a company that has already been built for you. That's incredibly difficult. But it's another level of difficulty, in my opinion, to be the owner of the company while also leading the team, right? Because there's different complexities around just, you built it, you gave birth to it. And so I think there's a different level and energy there. So I'm curious on your take on that.
Yeah, I would say the first company, the biggest challenge I had was I wasn't truly being my authentic self. And what I mean by that is, again, I'm a kid from Montana. I like jeans and t-shirts. That's just the kind of guy I am. I was wearing, 3-piece suits and buttoned up tie. And that was my deal for literally the first company and a half. I required everyone to do it. What I found is I just wanted to find people in their most authentic place. And when I did that, we grew even faster, working less. So the biggest challenge was really just getting comfortable in that professional setting and just realizing that, you know what? It's much easier to just show up as me, and it saves time, energy, and money doing it that way. The other thing I would say, Netta, that was really important for me is I was very clear on what I was good at I'm good at sales, leadership, building teams. Those are the three things. You want me to be your accountant? It's going to go poorly. You want me to be the operations person? It'll go even worse. But if you want to build teams, you want to do sales, you want leadership, that's really my gifts that God gave me.
Did you know that early on in building your businesses, or did you have to stumble upon that? Because as you know, a lot of times when we first build a business, I know for me, I went through a phase where it was like, nobody can do it like me. Like basically I'm doing everything, even if I have a team, because, that's that mindset of, you have to do it all. So did you always know that, hey, these three things are my superpower. Now I'm going to get the best team to do the rest? Or, was that a process for you?
So building teams and leadership, I knew straight away because as I mentioned, I was actually swimming was my best sport, but that's an individual sport.
Yeah.
I chose to play basketball because it's a team sport. I've always loved teams. I love building cultures. I love being a part of it. I love, the good, the bad, and the ugly of teams. I love that part. I learned my first year in the company that I ended up growing with the guy, Rich is his name, that hired me. I learned how good I was at sales. And so when I put the three together, it really allowed me to build sales teams around the country. So it came to me pretty quickly just because I was good at sales. Then I knew I like building teams. And then the leadership piece, I just continued to work on as I continued in my professional life.
So you mentioned earlier that when you wrote the book, Let's Go In, and then you kind of stumbled on this new career path, it was by accident. Like break that down a little bit more for us. So you just wanted to write a book one day for your kids to empower them. Like walk us through that process.
Yeah. So the first book, Let's Go Win, Keys to Living Your Best Life. That's the full title of it. And I was only planning to write it for just my two sons. My wife and I have 19 today, 19 and 15-year-old sons. And I wasn't going to publish it, but the gal I was working with said, "Man, you're selfish." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "If you don't share this with more than two human beings, you're selfish." I said, "Okay, cool." So I did, and it just kind of started the domino effect, if you will, to the next thing, to the next thing. And I found my purpose and passion in life was really inspiring people to live their best lives every single day. That's my job. And I can't imagine a better job in the world than that. So I didn't mean for it to happen. Honestly, financial services, kind of easy street. I just found my purpose and passion, and I've been doing it ever since.
What was your initial reasoning, though, for writing the book for your kids? So was there an epiphany? Did something happen? Have you seen success in your own growth and you wanted to dictate it and write it down for your kids and pass it on? What was that initial, I should do this?
I just felt if my wife and I, knock on wood, but if we were hit by a bus, I wanted our kids to know some of the philosophies that we believed in. And so that's how I built the book based on 12 chapters. I guess at the time I was thinking one chapter a month for my kids to read it because I wanted them to have, these lessons learned from all the authors and mentors and parents, all these amazing lessons. I just wanted to put into an easy to read book for them just in case we weren't there. And it's ended up being just a really cool, I'm so glad I did. But at the time, it was just for them. That was the entire purpose.
So I know that you have the self method, which I want to break down because I like the 4 pillars of it. But before we jump into that, I'm really curious in your perspective. You have a diverse background. You've done sales, team building, wrote a book. You come from an athletic background. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you see, not necessarily with teams, but I would say the individuals, because individuals make up the teams and then they make up the organization. What's the biggest thing that you see that you feel like we have to solve today?
People being vulnerable. I think for me, it was the most profound lesson I learned as a leader. And it was also a big lesson for me because I was taught boys don't cry. And for me to write literally in chapter 1, vulnerability, the importance of it for my kids, it tells you how impactful that was in my life. And I see people all the time. They're like, I don't want to be vulnerable. People are going to take advantage of me. Yes, that could be true. But man, when you really let people in, it's amazing what can happen. And then people can truly enjoy and being in this environment. You think about it, we work 33% of our lives, we're at work. Imagine that you're not able to show up as your authentic self. That stinks. And so that's something I really do see for individuals where I hope more organizations really embrace that idea of letting people to truly be themselves, be authentic, be vulnerable, and support them in that cause.
So I want to break that down a little bit. I just finished the book, The Five Temptations of a CEO, right? Great book. And the fifth one is vulnerability, to talk about that a lot of times leaders are afraid to be vulnerable. What does that really look like in practicality, though? I think a lot of times when people hear vulnerability, it's like, I have to share my feelings. But it's not necessarily that, right? So from your perspective, what does that look like in a practical example? Maybe just give an example of yourself or maybe a team member or situation.
Yeah, I think it's simple. It doesn't have to be, like you said, sharing everything. Now, I happen to choose to be radically transparent, as Ray Dalio talked about. That's the way I show up. So I share everything. I know that's uncomfortable for some people. What I would say in a normal daily environment is, if, let's say, you woke up and you had a sick child, and then you're dealing with all that, you get to work and you're just not at your best. Having the ability to share with your coworkers, with your leader, to say, you know what, I didn't sleep that well. I'm not at my absolute best because I'm worried about my child at home. You know what? Typically the leader's going to say, why don't you go ahead and just take the day off, go take care of that child? Or is there anything I can do to support you? Or do you need anything in addition today so that you can check in on your child? When you don't share, people don't know what you're going through. And so all they see is you're just showing up as half the version of who you really are. If you would just share that, you know what, I'm going through something right now, people can relate and say, you know, I have kids. I've gone through that experience. I totally understand what you're going through. How can I best support you? But if you don't let people in, they don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a really important element of communication, because a lot of times as individuals, we don't want to feel like we're burdening people or that we're making excuses or that we're coming off at the victim. So we try to keep things to ourselves. But then it can be, it could backfire on us, right? Because then somebody might notice, oh, you're underperforming today, or it seems like you're a little bit off. And then because we don't have that information, we create assumptions about why that person is off or why they're late or why they're this. So to me, it just sounds like that extra enhanced level of communication that is so important to understand, like, what's my team going through today and how can we best support one another?
Yeah. And, Google did a study on what the best performing teams have. There's three things. They have trust, psychological safety, and equal speaking time in meetings. Well, we're talking about trust and psychological safety. If you're a high performing team, the individuals of that team should feel comfortable. They shouldn't feel like they're going to get judged if they share something personal. And it's just for the team to know, you know what? JM's not his best today, so we're going to pick up the slack a little bit. And by the way, it always comes around that, maybe Nada's not feeling her best. Great. So now it's my turn to step up. And that's how great teams work, it's really kind of a dance that you're doing where, you know what, you're not your best. Let me pick you up. Let me celebrate you when you need that. Let me make sure that I'm recognizing you in your time of need or in your time of celebration. It's a beautiful thing when people can truly open up with one another.
Yeah, I love that. JM, I'd love to jump into your method, the self method, because I know in particular the second pillar is really resonated with me. So can you break down to the audience slightly what the self acronym stands for?
Yeah, so it stands for strength, energy, love, and freedom. And how I arrived at it is I kept getting asked, when you have a company called Let's Go Win, people ask, what does winning mean to you all the time? And so I decided to look up winning after being asked this question many thousands of times. And it came back with one word. It was self-love, self-care, self-development. This word self was always in the definition of winning. And so I thought, you know what? What does self really mean? And so I went down a rabbit hole of what does the S in self mean? And to me, it means strengths. E stands for energy, L is love, and F is freedom. It also happens to be four of the most powerful words in the English language. And I was like, this is what we all need to show up as our best selves. And the entire idea is making sure that you're taking care of yourself first, because so often people are taking care of their kids, their house, the dogs, the spouse, they're focused on everyone else. And the problem is there's a shelf life to that. If you don't take care of you, you can't be your best version of yourself. And that's what the self community is all about, is pouring into you so you can be the best version of yourself.
I love that, because we echo that here at Rise Up For You. In fact, we always say that self-care, investing in the self, all things self is the greatest act of service you can give. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're only serving at half of your capacity, right? You're not able to give everything that you have, because it's like it's like a bucket that is running dry. And so I really love the acronym self. I love the energy piece as well. I think that all those things are super critical for us really stepping into our power. JM, this has been a great conversation. I want to jump into the power section of the interview, ask you a couple rapid fire questions.
Alrighty.
Okay, so question number one, if you were to leave the world with one final message, we call it our golden nugget. So what would your golden nugget be?
Wow. Just to be you. It takes no energy to just be yourself. So that's what I've taught my kids, just be you.
Yeah, I love that. As you know, we teach a lot of soft skills, which are actually really difficult. One of the main ones is emotional and social intelligence. And so we always ask this question, being self-aware, building your emotional capacity, what's the one thing that you know will make you cry on demand and that just moves you, it evokes movement in you?
My kids. My son, like I said, is 19. Every time I leave him, I cry, every time, because he's up at college. And some people are like, you'll see him in a couple of weeks. Yeah, but it absolutely is painful. It's like a piece of me is being left there. So I don't mean to be overly dramatic about it, but my kids just, man, they move me.
I love that. I have one more question for you, but before I ask, where can we connect with you? Where can our audience find you, your books, social media?
Awesome. Thank you. Let'sGoWin.com. Everything is there. I'm on every social media platform. So Let's Go Win 365. You meet on any of those social media sites.
Okay, fantastic. We'll make sure that we put those in the notes. And final question for you, JM, is as you know, we are the company Rise Up For You. What comes to mind when you hear that phrase?
I mean, I love the idea because the for you is the piece where I'm like, yes, as you said, the most selfish thing you can do is not take care of yourself. And people are like, what? I'm not being selfish. I'm being unselfish. No, if you don't take care of you first, you're being selfish, and there's a real shelf life. So everybody out there, I love the name of your podcast, Rise Up For You. And it makes so much sense that, this is, you come first so that you can serve everyone around you. So I think it's a brilliant name. And it definitely, I see a picture of someone really elevating themselves on a daily basis. And it's powerful.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. JM, it's been an honor to have you on our show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Rise Up For You podcast. Again, this is your host, Nada Nasserdeen. Every single week, we are bringing to you amazing leaders, executives, entrepreneurs from around the world to help you be your absolute best. I will see you next time. And JM, thanks again. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. And check us out on social media. We are everywhere, from LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook, at our simple handle, at Rise Up For You. On every single platform, it's exactly the same. And we're providing new content on every single platform, so there's something different everywhere. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, and connect with us on social media. I'll see you next time.